What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Corbin, the Serpent Tongue Skipwith.
And Ren, the Berserker Marabou.
And this is SAGAS.
SAGAS.
Oh, man.
Dude.
One day.
Maybe by episode 10 we'll get that right, but sure.
Yeah, you're missing the 0, episode 100. Sure.
Yeah. Well, hello, everybody.
Hello. So, as you so gratefully promoted last week, today we'll be talking about Megadeth and their 4th album in particular, Rust in Peace. So, do you want to start? Or?
Yeah, well, before we start, dedicate this episode to the OG Big Sean, United Music Mafia. I believe it's one of his favorite albums, so we said we'd give it a whirl for him. So where to start with this amazing album by Thrash Metal royalty, Megadeth. This, to me, is the encyclopedia, let's say, of the genre. The absolute kings. And this was the album for me that it's when they really clicked. It just clicked. They just became the Megadeth that we all know and love today. And it's for a few reasons. For one, it was their 4th studio album, so they got to mess around for a bit. Actually, I like to call this the beginning of Mega Daves. It's when the two Daves really came into their own. The David Ellefson's bass playing from this album onwards was just, it was a juggernaut. The work he done on this album. And Dave Mustaine found his vocals, so he really found his directions of what he wanted to do that way. So it was just this absolute beast of an album. Also, it was because they brought in Nick Menza, the powerhouse. Yeah, and Marty Freeman, man, like the two boys, like bringing them into this equation was the best thing that could have happened to metal. Not right, bro.
It's interesting because in my study on it, a few things. It's like, first of all, the most surreal thing I've found out is in the hiring process. Apparently, for all the different guitarists, one of the few names that was considered was Dimebag Darrell from Pantera and Jeff Waters from Annihilator. So it's like, can you imagine if shit had been different? Like, we would have had one of those guys as the guitarist.
Dude, it could have gone so different. Like, Slash was another name that was thrown in there as well. But also Marty Friedman could have gone a different path too, because he, strangely enough, he had an audition that same week with Madonna.
Wow.
So yeah, he could have. I think it was before he got the call to go with with Megadeth, but like he could have been gone off on tour with Madonna, and this album never would have happened. And his rise to one of the best guitarists in metal might never happen.
Yeah, like the one thing I find interesting also is, to me, this album's kind of in a weird spot for me to talk about, because this is normally when we talk about albums, like we normally talk about how this album, how hypothetically after this album, their music gets faster or more aggressive or different. But to me, this album onwards, they start to slow their pace down. Countdown to Extinction, Euthanasia. This is really the last of the 4-album trilogy of just fast-paced thrash craziness. Because then after that, they start to get more paced. They start to become more melodic in a way, which I think is quite interesting to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big thing to do with Nick Menza's drumming style. He really brought this kind of like groovy, almost jazz-esque type drumming to it. As just mega technical. When you hear him drawing it, like he just really brings like a different dynamic to the whole thing. So I give props to Nick on that one. And the funny thing is that wasn't he like a drum tech before this? So it's kind of like that fairy tale story of like the underling watching the actor out on stage, and they finally get called to take the main role, and they run up, and then they're better than the original actor. It was a really cool kind of story. Plus, say when they hit the stage and he had like his cymbals hanging like chandeliers around him, it was like the coolest looking thing ever, like, you know. So he was a complete badass to bring in with the technical element, and then he has a furious, monstrous kind of meatiness to his style as well. So I don't know, I bring it down to him. Well, obviously Marty Friedman as well, like, but
Yeah, it is kind of interesting because, like, you know, like I just thought about it now as a comparison, but this is really a very similar trajectory to what Slayer did. How they had a few albums, and then after a few albums they released Season of the Abyss. Season of the Abyss was the slower, more methodical album, and this is the same, Rust in Peace, and then you have Countdown to Extinction. It's just this is the last album until their pace changes, in my opinion, dramatically different from the garage thrash, just fast paced shit. And yeah, I think it's really interesting.
yeah, well, that's it. The melodic stuff as well. I mean, I was going on about Nick Menza, but the dual guitar stuff here with Dave Mustaine and Marty Friedman, it's just the best kind of guitar combination for metal that there was for a long time, if not still. I actually listened to just the stems from that album, like isolated. So just the two boys' guitars, the entire album, and it's like it. How you can take away all the other elements and it still sound good enough to listen to from start to finish, melodically, like big trashy guitars, but like in such a melodic dual guitar way. It just goes to show how good it is. You know, I mean, I'm sure if you stuck on Metallica and listened to just the guitars, you probably wouldn't be as into it. I must send this on to you, man. It's absolutely, it blows your mind guitar wise, like. But definitely the melody that was brought in by Marty's guitar style was sick, like, you know.
I was, reading here that apparently the album title Rust in Peace was inspired by a bumper sticker that Dave saw on the back of a vehicle that read, "May all your nuclear weapons rust in peace." It's just like, hey, like, you can find inspiration from anything. I can just imagine driving down with his little guttural voice. He's like, "Oh, that's a cool album." Like, talking to himself. And it's like, I love how inspiration can literally come from anything.
Oh, that's it, man. I mean, literally, that's what I spend most of my day doing anyway. I walk around and I see everything, like cereal boxes. I go out into the street, I hear somebody saying something as I'm passing by, or, like that bumper sticker or signs, anything. It's brilliant, like, but how that inspired the whole album, right? And not only the album, but the most fucking revered album of that genre,
Yeah.
It's just amazing how one simple sentence, well, just the end of the sentence, right, 3 words, how it was able to take on such a big juggernaut of a spiral kind of thing. But it's funny because the fans, I found, that's when they really they got, so far so good, so what, kind of flopped a little bit for them. Like, it wasn't really their best work. And no pointing fingers, but for me it was down to the drumming and the production and stuff. But this one just really blew the lid off it for me. Like, I could listen to this album all day, every day for the rest of my life, and I'd be majorly satisfied. Like, you can't ask for any more for what it is. Like, it's funny how they say it's thrash. It is the pinnacle of thrash metal, but yeah, it's just pure melody. It's perfect. It's just, I don't know. I can't. How many more descriptions of the word amazing, awesome, fantastic, spectacular? I could sit here. Yeah, it's absolutely immaculate. This album is immaculate. But it went platinum, didn't it? Like, it was gold and then it went platinum. So that's for any metal band, that's a serious deal. Like, but the 2004 remastered version, I tell you, I'm usually a bit skeptical about remaster and stuff, but they nailed this one. Like, it really, really it just brings it out fatter and fuller, much warmer. And for the justice of the David Ellefson, it really brought the bass even more to the forefront, because his performance on this album is absolutely excellent. Like you can't get any better. Like, but I think, yeah, it's funny. I think I told you before, I'm a purist. I like hearing things from when it was recorded on tape and it was properly done. And when you bring this modern element into it, it usually feels a bit kind of icky for me. Like, but this was done perfect. It was exactly what it just needed, that little subtle beefiness, just a little bit. They did a great job in that as well. So,
and I kind of feel like I kind of feel there's a level of importance to clarify if there are any listeners to our podcast who aren't familiar with thrash metal the way we are, to say that this is one of the greatest thrash metal albums of all time, and to say that is such a massive compliment, considering years prior there have been albums like Ride the Lightning, Master of Puppets, Angel of Death, Anthrax's I forgot what the album's called, but Anthrax has a few as well. It's like there's so many amazing thrash albums that came out prior to this album, and for everyone to think that this is the golden gem, the magnum opus of thrash, it really speaks volumes to just how good this album is.
It really does. It's like, it's not like they, like you say, they didn't have they had plenty of competition, so they really had to pull it out. And I think it was a lot to do with the direction of this album. Dave wasn't really writing in any kind of angry way towards what had happened. Even discussing the Metallica thing to me is so outdated now at this stage. I'm just like, just forget about it, man. The man has had an illustrious career ever since. Stop talking about it. But I didn't like when he was annoyed about it and he was talking about it. But he got to a stage in his life where he grounded himself with the whole situation, and he just went for it. And this was kind of like a pinnacle kind of point where he was just like, right, that's it, I'm doing my thing. And you can see, like, to me, his writing style is so much more dynamic and creative than Metallica ever will or ever were. It's just, he just has it's just more musical. Like, no offense to Metallica, big props there too. Like, but I got to see Metallica at least 4 times, maybe 5 times over the years, and it was always a great show. It was really, really good. But when you go to see Megadeth playing, it's just a whole other experience. Like the last Megadeth show I went to was in the 3 Arena in Dublin, and it was amazing for 2 reasons. One, just getting to see them, but the second reason was because they had Chris Adler from Lamb of God playing drums with them. And Lamb of God had just played a set just before that. So this man comes out after playing, and what Lamb of God is like, fast music, right? And then he's on the stage, and he's doing a full set with Megadeth, and it's just unbelievable. And just to hear how musical that stuff is, that they can go on after a modern day metal band, with all the extra groove and all the new variations of metal, and get up on and play after with the same drummer and sound, fresh, and playing tracks from, like, this album, like Holy Wars and stuff, which was nice to hear. Because did you ever hear about the controversy about Ireland and that song? No?
The only controversy I've ever heard is the U2 concert in Ireland, but no.
Yeah, right. So this one, I won't go too into it because it's still a touchy subject over here. But Holy Wars, I don't think it is. But a lot of people say that the song is about the troubles in Ireland, But I don't think it is. But he did say a comment. He was playing a show in Northern Ireland, and he said something because he had a little bit of misinformation. He said something on stage, and it kind of rubbed the crowd a bit wrong, because the way, and I stand to him with this. He's very much against religions, fighting other religions for just for the sake of being a different religion, which I totally understand and I'm all for. But the stuff that goes on here is there's a little bit more to it than that. But so unfortunately, he opened his mouth and the crowd went, well, berserk, let's say. And they had to get into a riot van afterwards, like a bulletproof riot van, and get out of there before, you know, they got into some serious trouble. So that was a long time ago now, but that was, you know, it was nice to hear them playing that song in Ireland, in Irish soil again, and it was all just fun and everybody was enjoying it, you know?
Yeah. You know, I can't tell you how many hours I must have wasted in high school and like, yeah, all the way through to high school, debating and arguing with friends who was better, Dave Mustaine or Kirk Hammett. Like I spent like years of my life debating that. But that aside, you know, I think it's interesting because on here it says that Mike Klink produced the album, and he also worked with Guns N' Roses as Illusions, Use Your Illusions Part 1 and 2. And Dave Mustaine apparently claims he didn't do much of the album and he used all his time on Guns N' Roses, which I think is an interesting.
Yeah, I heard that too. It was like because he was on the books with like Axl Rose or something. And whenever Axl called, like Axl would, you know, be in and out and, you know, he'd take times away from the studio and come back. Whenever he wanted to come back, he'd give him a shout and he'd have to run. He'd have to go and do it because he was on their book. So yeah, Dave Mustaine pretty much, you know, he says himself that he pretty much produced the whole, or done the main part of the work anyway, which I find is really interesting. But I do like Mike Klink. Hit the work he's done. One of my favorite albums growing up was a UFO album, Strangers in the Night. It was one of the first kind of classic rock albums that my father got me into. So I have a lot of props to him. Like, well, he was working with White Snake and Heart and all the goodies, you know, all the goody old classics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, talking about the album now, it's like, I think, have you ever watched the DVD, The Big Four?
I'm sure I have, but yeah.
It has, it's the combination of concert of Anthrax, Megadeth, Metallica, and Slayer. And I used to have that growing up. I don't know what happened to it, but Megadeth set, the first song they play is Holy Wars, The Punishment Due. And it is insane hearing that live because he speeds up the solo more faster than the song. So you hear it and it's just like to me, that is the greatest intro track for any metal album ever. Like that makes such a statement. I can't tell you how much I love that opening track.
If they were to have gone with any other song on the album, it probably wouldn't have had the same impact. Like that really just straight off the bat, you know. And then it goes into that lovely nylon string kind of Eastern sound in the middle. And that's going back to what I was saying earlier. That's why I don't think the song is about Irish troubles, because the Eastern flavors in there with the guitar. But I just thought that was beautiful straight away because, you know, you can't beat any kind of, you know me now, man. I love all music that sounds like it's from a different culture, you know, blended in with, you know, our Eastern or Western kind of rock and metal. But that just was beautiful. But this guitar solo in that song, my God, it's like, what?
But
just unreal, man. But
yeah,
that's the other thing.
Oh,
no, go ahead. No, you go ahead, bro.
I was gonna say, like, the one thing I love, like, there's so many elements I love about it. Like, for example, right before the solo, how Dave Mustaine, you know, is that slow part, and then he's like, first mistake, and then he goes last mistake, and then the guitar solo hits. It's like, oh shit, like that is.
I know. Do you know what that line? First mistake, last mistake. It's like you know what he's talking about wasn't directly wasn't his life. He's not talking from like his own experience. As far as I know, anyway, I don't know, but I imagine that it's more of a story kind of lyric. But he says it with such conviction that you would believe that it happened to him. you know, that he was that guy in that situation, and it's powerful stuff, like, you know, because the song up to that point has a bit more of a fast-paced rocky kind of vibe, but then it just goes to that minor key. It's just darker, you know, and it's that wicked like riff, you know, with the banner just hitting the last two strings. I think on the record they do like a harmonic or something, but live they just pluck the two bottom strings, and it's just really it's epic, like. But I don't know, like the 2004 one had bonus tracks on it, and it had the demos of, say, that the Holy War song, and it just goes to show how good the tracks were as songs before and how they had them written. Just you don't need to be any better. I said that's probably my catchphrase. You don't need to be any better to you know. But yeah. Anyway, I digress.
And I was gonna say, like, the amount of flexing that Dave Mustaine does on this album is just unspeakable. He does the Holy Wars Punishment Drew, and what's right after that? Hangar 18. It's like, dude, what? And then the one thing I love about that song, I wrote it down, is it's interesting because he has a lyric on there where he says, "Computer banks to rule the world," and that was 30 years ago. It's like, fuck, he knew something. He saw the future.
He's the Nostradamus of metal, what? Nah, he did. It's funny because the Hangar 18 to me is so groovy. It's just groove riddled. And then there's that magic bit halfway through it. It's just, that song to me is one of their best songs, and it doesn't actually sound very Megadeth. Like it's something, it's a little different. And that's what I loved about the work that they done from here on. They didn't let themselves get confined in this thrash metal, you know, down strumming kind of stuff. They really opened up. I think it was a very important album for bands to come. Like I said earlier, it's like the encyclopedia. Like if you want to, you say you're a young fella and you're meeting with your mates, will you write a thrash song? Yeah, all right. You go straight to Rust in Peace to get some inspiration, right? But speaking about magic, right? There's the song Five Magics, number 4. It's where you really get to hear that bass. You know, it's like David Elvison is just like, right, I'm a wicked bass player, and I'm gonna make everybody know, and you're gonna hear this. And if it was from then on that there was a couple of tracks that had like bass guitar intros and stuff, and it's not majorly technical. Like there is quite a lot of technical stuff later on in the bass where he's doing hand tapping, but it's just really hooky. You know, it just grabs you, and it's very memorable kind of stuff. So that's the bass.
Yeah, and the one thing that really caught my attention, because I was listening to the album an hour before now just to get refreshed, and the song. The one thing I never noticed before until today was on the song Lucretia, however you say it, Lucretia. That intro, the little 10-20-second riff, it sounds really progressive metal. It has a real prog vibe to it, and I'm like, that would have been really early in the prog metal era. I don't think prog metal was around too early back then, too much.
No, like, I think. Yeah, no, it's funny that you point that out, because it does, and it's that that there's that laugh at the start of that song to just sets it off, and then it's real groovy, like, you know, as Big Sean, as this is dedicated to, would say, that is pure beast mode. You know, that song is just groovy, and the solo in it is probably one of my favorite solos on the album, like. But yeah, no, he did done really well. Actually, before we forget, anybody that's listening to the show here now, you're probably either listening to it on our Facebook page or on Inner Demon Media or Inner Demon Radio. So this is the first podcast to be aired, and it's going to be aired every Sunday on the Delinquents Ball show. So wherever you're listening to, thank you, and thank you very much. And big big props to Sid Ryder. What a man. Thanks for having us on this journey, this epic Inner Demon media journey. Check out him and his shows. He's a legend. Before I forget, it's 5 p.m. Eastern time on his show and 10 p.m. GMT. So that'll be my time. Bro, I don't know what that makes it in Australia. We'll have to figure it out another time. But
oh man, like, nah, it's a really good opportunity. You know, and this is, I guess, this is just going to be like an inside joke between us. But it turns out my Serpent Tongue name hasn't really just been a name; it's been quite a reputation. But you know, it's cool that we finally get to where we are, and I'm excited to see if I can catch it on Sunday. And yeah, no, it's a definitely an exciting opportunity for us. We've got so much stuff going on between the podcast. It's like, and in such a short time as well, 4th episode, and we got chemistry, and you know, you can't buy that. I was telling someone, I was like, you can't buy chemistry. It's like, we have something that, yeah, you can't buy this kind of connection. So it makes sense.
Jesus, man, you can't bottle us up anyway and sell us off. You ever buy a chemistry set, man? They're brutal.
Yeah. You know, but, yeah, it's like with this album, it's just because, you know, you listen to the other 3 albums and it sounds very, to me anyway, it sounds very garage style, garage rock, like very raw, very not very well produced. I mean, it just has an indie quality about them to me. Very fast paced indie, who gives a fuck? But this is the first album, as you pointed out, that they actually sound like they took care, like they wanted to make a masterpiece, not just a fast-paced, crazy album. So you can hear it. You can hear the care put in, just like we talked about last week with Doom Borgia. It's like they put all that extra effort in, and it really paid off.
Yeah, it really did. And even as far as the artwork, like they went, you know, their first few albums, especially the album before this, the artwork was a little dark. You know, this was dark too, but it was a lot more depth in it. Plus, they went for a really nice bright blue. It's really eye-catching. And there's like 5 world leaders, what it looks like, sitting in the background. There's their mascot guy with the skull guy. And then there's an alien in a casket, some kind of like a futuristic cryodome casket pod thing. And it's really cool. And it kind of sets off the tone for the whole album. But it's funny how later on in years, Dave Mustaine and Nick Menza ran into issues with each other because of the whole UFO thing. Yeah. Dave, he kind of like didn't have any major feelings either way. It is what it is. But Nick Menza was addicted to the whole thing about aliens. He was a big conspiracy head and stuff. And Dave was just like, no. He's gone too far now. He's lost the plot. He's gone too far. You know, rest in peace. He's gone now, isn't he, Nick Menza?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I think he might be. Either way, either rock in peace or rest in peace, whatever you.
Oh yeah, but, he did.
Yeah. You did, yeah. All right, rock in peace. Jeez, that's shocking. But yeah, so excellent album cover too. Like, you know, again, like we said last week, they put an awful lot of thought into this. Like, I can't even remember what record company it was. It was Capitol Record, of course. What a class! Back in them earlier days of Capitol, they churned out some serious albums. But even the studio they recorded it in was Rumbo Recorders. It was in California. Like back then, it would have been state of the art, and it just goes to show because it still sounds mega today. Like, you know.
Yeah. Nah, look. All in all, this is, and like I said, once you start listening to other albums that followed, Countdown to Extinction, Euthanasia. They really didn't, in my opinion, after Rust in Peace, you don't really get such a fast-paced, like, juggernaut of an album until really, I would say even until 13. Yeah. Way later on. I think that's the most recent time they go full crazy, like, Rust in Peace mode, because you know, they started dabbling in ballads almost. There's that song with the French title, Atulia Monday, whatever
Oh
that
yeah.
song was called. And that was really a ballad type song. And then you had Countdown to Extinction, and yeah, like all these songs which didn't have the same ferociousness that Rust in Peace brought out. So I really think it is interesting how we go from this album to a lot more slower music for a while in the years going forward. But yeah, so this is really them saying, look, this is our climax. We're going to make the greatest fucking thing we can and just kind of let the legacy live for itself.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, the next album, Countdown for Extinction, one of my favorite songs of theirs, Symphony of Destruction. You know, it's a absolutely amazing song, but you can see how they've started to make things a little bit easier listening, let's say, you know, a little bit less in your face kind of stuff, because there are some real hardcore songs on this album. Rust in Peace. I don't want to talk about one song in particular because we saved that for the end. But yeah, like if any little guitar players out there, or even bigger guitar players, if you want inspiration for playing guitar, this is the album. This is all you need, because by the end of this album, if you digest this, you will end up. It's like it's I said it twice. I'm going to say it again. It's like an encyclopedia. This is all you need to sit down and learn. Don't mind anything else. Just get in there on that, like, you know. The other thing I'll say as well about Dave Mustaine is how respectful he is as a dude. You know, he gets a lot of stick from, you know, the Metallica end of things for being a whinger and stuff. But the last night I saw him in the 3 Arena, he after the show, he walked up to the front of the stage and he was, you know, talking to his fans like any other artist would be gone. You know, he walked up and he was chatting away for a few minutes, thanking everybody, being real respectful, and you know, said safe home. And then he turns around and walks off the stage, and his stage hand threw like a house coat, like a dressing gown over him, and it had Megadeth written on the back. It was like this black, and it was so badass. It was just like, you know that he's been around a long time and he's done this stuff for a long time, and but it's just really, really cool. I just wanted to mention that because it always stood out in my mind. Like, what a nice guy, you know.
Yeah.
But do you know what else is another thing? I love his signature guitars. If I had the money, I would have this room full of his signature guitars. They're absolutely beautiful machines. But anyway, I digress. We go back to the album.
Well, actually, I'm just going to quickly digress one last time because it's actually interesting. I was going back to the Big Four DVD, the concert. There's a really amazing moment where Dave Mustaine begins to play the song of Euthanasia, Atulia Monday. It's that ballad. I don't know if you heard of it, but he starts to play it on the guitar and the whole arena starts singing for him. Nice. And he's just took him back. He steps away from the microphone and the whole arena is singing the chorus for him. And he's just like, you just see him, he's like starstruck. It gives me chills every time I watch it because it's just like you said, he's been around so long. He's had such an iconic career that it's to the point where the fans are so happy to sing for him. It's kind of like the Rock in Rio concert by Iron Maiden, how the whole crowd just dived in, and it's, you know, you can't buy these, you can't make this up. It's just the chills you get when you see a real rock legend in his element, in like around his fans who know his stuff. Oh, it's really amazing.
Yeah, it's a you know, to go and see them playing after all these, like 1990, it was their you know, the making album, let's say, but they had a long career before that, you know, and it's just I suppose as music fans, when you're into rock and metal, there's it's a deep rooted thing. I mean, I presume it's probably the same in a lot of other genres. But speaking as a metal fan, it's just so awesome to have this long lineage of phenomenal musicians. And someday maybe you'll be talking about me like this.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Nah, I'm messing. But yeah, so I don't know, man. Like we could talk about the tracks and all that into detail and all that. But I'm just so excited to talk about one particular song. I've been dying to talk about this the whole time.
Yeah, well, no, sorry, I was going to say, you know, I think for once on our podcast, we've finally reached a good time for what we aim for. So,
Yeah.
so if you want, we can talk about that track and then go to our amazing segment at the end.
Let's do it, brother. Let's do it.
Yeah. So yeah, what's the track you want to talk about?
Right. So for Devil's Advocate, I would like you. We'll get a bell eventually, or a trumpet or something. Yeah, well, it's hard to pick a favorite track with this album because there's so many awesome moments in it. As in, say the midway through the second track, Hangar 18, that groovy bit, like I said earlier, it's just pure magic. It's one of my favorite bits on the whole album. One of my favorite bits of music in general. But the track that really stood out for me was Take No Prisoners, simply because the track takes no prisoners. It's just a full-blown, in-your-face, rockin' metal tune, and it's pretty much all I need in a song. You know, there's the camaraderie element. It's like take no prisoners. There's the warrior side to it. I think he mentions the word giants in it. It's a completely different context to what I imagine giants. But just using that word giants, I was just like, yeah, giants, come on, let's go. Norse mythology, woo. So yeah, that song, like, you know, technically it's genius. It's a full speed ahead monster. And again, as Big Sean would say, beast mode.
Yes.
So what's your favorite song then, brother?
I think for me, it's an easy win. Is the intro track. Holy Wars, the Punishment True. I've been obsessed with that song for years now. It's the greatest opening track. To me, it even beats, surprisingly, it's even better of an opening track than Master of Puppets. I mean, you go in there and it's just that solo, for the whole, what is it, 6 minutes and 37 seconds. The whole time you're engaged. You're sitting there like, there's no boring moment. You put on headphones and you're just air guitaring, like,
Yeah,
it is phenomenal. I mean, Hangar 18 is a close second, but Holy Wars, yeah, for me. And, you know, now going on to the Devil's Advocate, for me, it's a pretty easy choice. And just because, and this would give it away, but I had to choose this because I really didn't have any other choice because of the length. Dawn Patrol. A minute 51 seconds. I can't choose anything else. I have to choose it.
No, that's it. This will be the second week I think we agree on the Devil's Advocate tune. Dawn Patrol for me, it was the English accent that he was putting on while he was doing the talking bit. I don't know, it just felt a bit wrong for me. But yeah, the 1 minute 50 seconds, I just felt like you know, I'm all for short songs, you know, it's grand. But I felt like they had a bonus track, My Creation, which was a short track too. It was like 136, and I think that was a better track. So I think if that was put in place of that and had Dawn Patrol as the bonus, probably would have worked out a bit better there. But anyway, yeah. So that's my. I don't feel so bad about that song.
Yeah.
Putting that in there because like. Everything else in the album is pure perfection, and that one just had the two little elements that we're not so fond of. But other than that, you know, what an album! Like, I mean, you know, you spend a bit of time doing research into albums, and you know, you figure out what you like and what you dislike, and then you get kind of like you're not so fond to listen to them anymore. But I'll be listening to this album until the day I perish. You know, it's just one of those albums that forever it'll be there. I'll give it a spin quite frequently, you know, that kind of way. But yeah, before I forget, remind me I get to send you on that dual guitar. Just the isolated tracks. It's unbelievable, bro.
Definitely will. All right. So do you want to what's going on for your week this week? What do you want to share?
Yeah. Well, before I say anything about my own week, I discovered yesterday that Megadeth and Lamb of God are going back on tour again. Metal Tour of the Year sort of job. It's like Trivium and In Flames are supporting them as well. So that would be pretty awesome to get to, because I saw In Flames and Lamb of God together before, and that was an epic show. I've seen Lamb of God and Megadeth together, and that was an epic show. So you're throwing Trivium in there as well. So that's going to be special. I'm not entirely sure where or when, but yeah, check it out anyway. For myself personally, we are shooting a music video at the weekend. So we're going out to the mountains, and we're going to be screaming and shouting at sheep and whatnot.
Oh, wow.
So
nice.
yeah, so that's the plan. We've got that, and then we've an interview actually on Saturday with Metalheads Forever. So Keith Clement. So we're gonna do a nice little interview there. So I think that's at 10 o'clock. I'm not sure if it's live. I presume it is, but I'll have links on my Facebook and the band's Facebook page anyway. So that's my plan for the week. What about you, bro?
So I've got 14 days left of my holiday from reviews. I'll be back then. I just did an interview earlier today at Australian time with legendary rapper Razkaz. So that was fun. That's on my YouTube. This will be posted on YouTube. And as you said earlier, the Delinquent Ball will be on there every Sunday. So check out our Facebook for updates on that. And yeah, shout out to Sid for hooking us up on that. But yeah, other than that, just I might have more interviews throughout the week. I don't know yet. But yeah, and because it's my choice, it's my turn to choose an album this week, I'm going to give you guys foreshadowing and say it's going to be Cradle of Filth, Nymphetamine, one of my favorite albums growing up in my teenagehood, and an album that I can't wait for Ren to get familiar with.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to get stuck into this album now, man. They've always been a band that I've been wanting to dabble or dive deeper into, let's say. So I'm excited. Can't wait.
Well, Danny Filth, to me, the lead singer, is the greatest metal lyricist of all time. To me, he's so poetic. His dark poetry is amazing. So I can't wait for you to really digest his lyrics.
Awesome.
Nice.
Great
All
stuff.
right. Well, yeah, this is us, and I'll make sure to upload this as soon as possible. We can all check it out. And until next week, I don't know. Wait, what's a Norse word for goodbye?
Well, you could say skull if you wanted, because it's a multi-word. It's like cheers, or you could do a nice Irish word, sláinte, or Alvida saying if you want to do in German.
So cilantro.
Sláinte. That's like cheers. It's like, or I don't know. I like Alvida saying actually. That's German, like, but
I'm going to stick with skull because I can pronounce that.
Skull, everybody.
Skull.
Same time, same channel.
Yes, skull.
Skull, everybody.
Have a good one.